Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Khanna have introduced legislation for a wealth tax on the country's billionaires, and Sanders is now going after the Washington Post for daring to publish a piece of legislation, opinion article bashing the piece of legislation. Sorry, I butchered that read there.
All good. The Make Billionaires Pay Their Fair Share Act would establish a 5% annual wealth tax, which the two argue would raise trillions of dollars in revenue. Sanders said in a statement, quote, "We can no longer tolerate a corrupt tax code that enables billionaires to pay a lower tax rate than the average worker. In a democratic society, we cannot tolerate 60% of our people living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay for housing, food, and health care, while 938 billionaires have become 1.5 trillion richer." Khanna echoed that sentiment, saying, quote, "We have a deep economic divide in this country. On one side, places like Silicon Valley are generating extreme wealth. On the other side, families are struggling to cover the cost of healthcare, housing, and basic needs."
This proposal is similar to a California ballot initiative that also seeks to impose a 5% tax on billionaires living in California. But Sanders and Khanna's bill takes it a step further, applying to all of the nearly 1,000 billionaires in the United States. The Washington Post, which is owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, published an editorial piece on Tuesday criticizing the proposal. The article reads, in part, "Even for billionaires, a 5% tax on every asset they own would virtually wipe out any gains they make in a normal year. No one that rich keeps all their money sitting around in a checking account. They own real estate and they make long-term investments that might not pay out for years. Studies analyzing what other wealth tax have raised show they raise less than their boosters promise because people shift their behavior. Many billionaires would simply flee or find new ways to shield their holdings. Plenty of European countries already learned this lesson."
That article made its way to Sanders, who replied on X, "Surprise! The Jeff Bezos-owned Washington Post is against my 5% billionaire wealth tax. I wonder why. If enacted, Bezos would owe $12 billion in taxes, and an average family of four would receive a $12,000 direct payment. Poor Jeff would be left with just $224 billion to survive."
There's also a former tech entrepreneur running for Congress in California who aims to take Khanna's seat in the House. His name is Ethan Agarwal. He was previously running for governor, but he announced his intention to instead run for Congress on Tuesday. He called out Khanna for his history of stock trading while in office, writing, Khanna is the most prolific Dem stock trader in the history of Congress, trading $55.7 million of stock last year. He beat the market by 13%. He criticizes wealth creation, innovation, and hard work, while making 8 figures investing in companies in his personal account. The wealth tax is a terrible idea. They're right to oppose it. Jeff Bezos is right to oppose it. The Washington Post is right to oppose it. If you do this, the billionaires, they could leave the country. They could headquarter elsewhere. These are the most productive members of our society who are creating great value. We already have an incredibly progressive tax code. We are taxing wealthy people quite a bit. We can't fix our budget and fix our services problem by just confiscating more wealth from rich and successful people and giving it to everyone else. We need to cut the deficit by fixing government services, by streamlining them, by cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, by having systems that don't waste exorbitant amount of money in our healthcare system, our defense system. So many things are bad and wrong, but a wealth tax will send the people who generate the wealth elsewhere. There are other countries in the world. They can go to Switzerland. They can go to wherever.
I have a lot of feelings about this. First of all, the editorial board released that article. So obviously, these are the leadership. This is leadership at the Washington Post. Obviously, they're going to defend Jeff Bezos. They don't want him
I would write that editorial, and I'm not a billionaire, and I don't work for Jeff Bezos.
I'm just saying, I know, but I'm just telling you, for Bernie Sanders to point that out, two things can be true. I also don't think this is a great idea. Obviously, I'm more on the Newsom side of this to say that people are fleeing California because of this. It hasn't worked historically, and when they tried it a few years ago, let's just put it to bed. But I also think that I saw a study.
So what's Bernie's point? Bernie says, I'm going to take your money. The person says, I don't want my money taken. And Bernie says, billionaires, how dare they object to my plan to take their money? What?
Good accent. I think I saw a study that talked about how frugal American billionaires actually are, besides Warren Buffett, as far as what they give back to charity or caring about communities, as far as how much they make overall versus how much they give back. Warren's the only person that gives back a significant amount. And I think billionaires, I'm not one to count people's money or tell you what you need to give back to, because a lot of times the responses let's say they're giving back 4% of their income. Am I doing that for my income? So then that's the argument. I never want to tell somebody what they should do.
Jeff?
But I think that billionaires could do a little better with caring about the overall good of the humanity. Their kids are probably going to be comfortable.
Bezos has done more for the overall good of
No, they had numbers
humanity.
listed. He didn't do anything close to Warren Buffett.
You're misunderstanding me. Amazon itself has done more for the good of humanity than just about any other company or product I can think of. Amazon has...
The factory workers might not agree. The factory workers might not agree.
Then they don't have to work there. Clearly, it's a good job because people want to work there and no one's forcing them. In many communities, having an Amazon fulfillment center where you can get a good paying, decent job is something they want. I know AOC didn't want it in her backyard because she doesn't like people being employed or whatever, but a lot of people love when there's a warehouse fulfillment center that comes in. They can have a good paying job. But that's not what I was talking about. This miraculously meets human need better than any delivery system ever invented. That you click a button and affordably, a thing you want of a vast, a numerous number of products can just magically appear, as if by magic, on your doorstep. This is, if our recent ancestors, our grandparents, our great-grandparents knew that within their lifetimes, you would just press a button and the thing you wanted would appear in front of you, they would say, there's no way, that's impossible. It's amazing.
I am an avid user of Amazon.
You and everyone else.
I think the whole world, if
the market has spoken, baby.
It's a beautiful thing. But you know what I'm also a fan of, and I think people care about more, especially as you get older, you start to realize what really matters, their health. And Bernie Sanders is trying to put forth an idea that could actually give people access to real money that could lead to real health care, because the president has put forth an idea that's a blanket statement of a health care plan that does nothing to solve the issue that we're in. And Bernie Sanders is constantly trying to champion a real idea, and he thinks this is the best way forward. I would really love to hear, I'm all ears from Republicans, what the strategy is, not what it is not. They have constantly said they hate Obamacare. Okay, so what's the plan? People are paying a lot of money for health insurance or not having it. And Bernie Sanders is saying, my best plan here is tax billionaires who are going to still have
wealthy people losing money,
but also helping people get health care.
He wants to equalize society by bringing wealthy people
$224
down to
billion doesn't make wealthy people down to here. The average person is never going to get close to that, not even 1 billion. And Jeff Bezos, he's saying, will still have $224 billion even after his tax. How is he bringing it here to here? Break that down. I mean, who do you know that has any billion?
How much, like, income taxes is getting to be, like, what do you think the tax rate should be? I think it should be 15% tops. 10% would be my.
I don't mind that, but I just think that, it should also be the same percentage of people. I think
8%. I agree with, they were telling me what time.
Yes, how much time? 8% you like?
Even better.
They were saying we've been talking for 8 minutes. Don't you think there should be, if the tax is one thing for people, let's say, who make 50 grand or 200 grand, shouldn't it be the same thing for a billionaire? Pay your fair share. Bernie Sanders is like, there's all these ways to get around it. Like, why do we make it? No, he said they have a lower effective tax rate once you hit a certain threshold.
That's Marxist.
And people are finding
the tax rate is just as high for them and higher.
I don't think Bernie Sanders believes that, and that's what he's arguing.
I know he doesn't believe it, but
he's trying to say he has a strategy. But you know how you can fight a bad plan? Because like I said, I don't think this is the most effective way to move forward with what he wants to do, is have a good, different plan. And I'm not hearing that. And so once I hear that, I'll be all ears.
I don't like when government tells you how much of what you own you should continue to own. It's violence, the state, to take your money. But that's my weirdo libertarian perspective. Next up, more to talk about on Rising. Please stay with us.